Hello and welcome to the Astrology and Spirituality Show for week commencing the 3rd of May. So the astrology this week does see a challenging angle between the quarter moon on Monday in the sign of Aquarius, which is very much about the team, the group, and also Saturn in this location and the Sun. So Sun square Saturn, as you can imagine, could be quite inhibiting. And essentially it's asking us to think about our relationships with others around our values, because the gathering of energy that we have in the sign of Taurus at the moment is pushing us to enjoy the good things in life, particularly if we have been unfortunate enough to be locked down for a very long period of time. The desire to go out and enjoy ourselves is absolutely understandable, but we may be asking ourselves some questions about the people that we're linking to. There may have been some divergence, or we may become more aware of who shares some slightly different values to us this week. But Mercury and Venus are going to be moving into Gemini, which is lighter, freer, more communicative, but not before Venus forges two glorious angles. Firstly to Neptune, which is fantastic if you're meeting someone on a date this week, and also with Pluto, which gives us the opportunity to really appreciate the people who are just absolute solid citizens in our world. It doesn't have to be romantic, just the people we can rely upon through thick and thin. Now, in terms of the Hermetic wheel, Elisa, last week we had the Six of Coins. Is that still ongoing this week?
Yeah, we're still in that energy of the Six of Coins until the 10th of May, which is in the second decan of Taurus. And the Six of Pentacles, Six of Coins, I feel there's such a lovely energy. We've moved past that Five of Pentacles, which was very much about lack and not knowing where we're going. The Six of Pentacles has much more faith. It is about sharing. We could be the recipient of some kind of windfall or benefactor coming in to help us. We could be the ones helping others. This doesn't just have to do with money though. This could also be anything to do with our material plane, such as giving to charity or donating some clothes or books. Anything
That's
that
fabulous.
balances those karmic
I
books.
absolutely love that. And I see the British government finally is waking up and saying that they're going to try to reach out and help India a little bit more. I know some ventilators had already been promised, but the mood music had been entirely unsatisfactory, and now they're actually suggesting that they may be doing something more meaningful. But if you want to donate a vaccine jab, or you want to go onto Oxfam, go onto their website. Oxfam are doing a fundraiser for India, and that's a great way to embrace the beautiful energies of the Six of Coins. Now, we've had loads of people writing in this week. It's been very, very interactive. And one of the questions we had was from Marjorie Dryden. And Marjorie was asking, Patrick, what's the difference between the ascendant and the midheaven? Well, when we're born, we obviously can have the sun in a particular zodiac sign. So, for example, at the moment, it's going to be in Taurus. But depending on what section of the day we're born in, and there are 12 sections of 2 hours, and what the zodiac sign on the eastern horizon is at the moment we're born, that specifies our ascendant or rising sign. And that's very much about our individuality. It's about our physical body, because it's very much like the energy of the sign of Aries. So we're coming into the world. This is the point where we make contact to the world, the first house. Now, it can be where the energy that people feel about us when they first encounter us. So sometimes I'll get asked in a public place, such as a pub, Patrick, what zodiac sign am I? And I might be picking up their ascendant or their moon rather than their sun, because that's the energy that comes across so immediately. Now, the 10th house, or the midheaven, that's very much to do with how we link to the world at large. It's how people perceive us professionally. It's where we set our goals. It can be our relationship with the authoritative member of the parenting team that guided us in the early parts of our lives. Or perhaps if we were brought up in an institution, we had a very 10th house experience. But it also can be where we want to make our mark, raise our profile, achieve a claim. Now, the 10th house is very Capricornian, the first house is very Arian. And I hope that answers your question, Marjorie.
Thank you so much.
Anima Milson came up with a fantastic word of the week, which is atemporal. So we're going to explore that one a little bit another time. But also Alina Voss mentioned about intuition, patience, transformation, and sacred. And we absolutely love sacred, Alina. But apologies to you both. We're actually going to go for a word from Emma in Pembrokeshire. And Emma is asking about the word
narcissism.
So, narcissism, the word of the week then that we've settled on. Thank you again, Emma from Pembrokeshire. So, it's very much in the currency of our language these days, our interactions. Elisa, what do you see a narcissist as being?
A narcissist is somebody who does not have feelings that we would say the majority of the population has. For example, no empathy. So they won't feel guilt or shame if they do something wrong, but they also find it very difficult to feel joy and happiness.
Are there grades of narcissists? So that would be the most extreme grade. And are there versions of it?
There are definitely versions of narcissists. You'll have some people who like to manipulate the people in their close circle. Then you will have narcissists who want to manipulate through their career, maybe even get to quite high positions of power. And then you will get narcissists who do have psychopathic tendencies, and they are the people that should be in prison.
And one of your favourite sayings is that
not all narcissists are psychopaths, but all psychopaths are narcissists.
That's brilliant. And would you say that we do have some heads of state in the world that could be...
I would definitely say so. You know, anything that involves doing something that is going to harm or kill thousands of people and then not have the empathy or, you know, the ability to just be able to go to sleep at night and not worry about it, to see people as a number and not as a soul or a human being. I would definitely say that was narcissism, yeah.
So are there sort of broad types of narcissism?
Yes, so you'll have like three main types of narcissism. You will have the overt narcissism, who is overly charismatic, likes people to worship them at their feet, and usually people do. You know, these people are fun to be around.
I've had a relationship with a narcissist.
Yeah, and the thing is, they're so great to be around you. When they shower you with love, it feels like you are the most important person in the world.
When they turn their light on you. So
Yeah.
that's part of that nature of that top group. What else would manifest in their nature, that top group?
That top group of that covert, well, then we go on to covert narcissism. But just to recap a bit on that overtly narcissistic people, they very much want you to be in their stratosphere. But if you do figure out that they're not all that they say they are, they tend to turn everybody against you, including your friends, your family members, their friends, and therefore you can end up looking like the bad guy.
So that was the overt narcissist. And what about the covert narcissist? I got a feeling that they could cause a lot more mischief in a way.
Definitely. The covert narcissist is much more difficult to pinpoint. They are not this charismatic person. In fact, they can come across as quite shy, quite quiet. You almost might feel a bit sorry for them, might want to just like help them. And if you're an empath who really wants to help people in life, then the covert narcissist is going to really hone in on those gifts. They're going to want you to give them all of that attention, but they never seem to grow through it. They never seem to do it themselves. It's always...
So that's the person who always wants to talk about themselves.
Definitely. They're always a victim in the story, and there's always something happening to them. But if you ever share any of your problems with them, they're not going to like it.
Yeah, I've experienced that one as well. So in the family. So what's the third type then?
The third type is when you get codependent narcissism. So narcissists tend to seek out people that are empathic, that have real deep feelings. The codependent narcissist wants one of its own kind. So therefore you have two narcissists together, and those relationships can be very toxic, very volatile, and very fiery.
Can they also, though, be the opposite of that, where they kind of exist at a low grade of empathy for others, but they feed each other's coolness in a way, because it's almost like a two of swords relationship where it's not absolutely busting with joyfulness, romance and all the rest of it, but somehow they meet each of others' needs in a way which keeps it in place.
Yeah. If we look at this in the most extreme cases, you may see couples that do, you know, terrible things and end up going to jail. Both those people in those parties tend to be narcissistic. One might be a little bit more submissive than the other, but there is definitely something that's brought them together in quite a dark way. So that would be the extreme. extreme of
So
that
Rose and
pandemic.
Fred West, the
Definitely.
people who abducted children,
Yeah.
sexual crimes against children,
Yeah.
and they reckon that she actually was the more charismatic and more manipulative one of the two.
But I would definitely say both narcissistic, feed in each other's need for that grandeur. Basically, they have huge ideas that they're better than everybody else. That's the one of the main things. They don't feel sorry for people, and one of the ways that they trick themselves to think that that's okay is that, well, people are stupid. They should have known better.
Or what we're seeing much more in a kind of, if you like, a new age way of thinking about things. Well, their life is not my responsibility.
Oh yeah.
That's their responsibility.
A narcissist will definitely use
That's
that.
very, very cold, very ruthless. It's basically along the lines of there is no such thing as society. So if people are more vulnerable, that's their lookout. And so I've experienced that as well within the family. So
Very powerful.
just going on to the astrology of the narcissist then. So someone I went out with in my early 20s was hugely charismatic. And as Elisa said, when they turn their golden sunshine on you, there's nothing like it. Especially if you yourself maybe have your own private wounds, or maybe haven't evolved enough to see the patterns, which obviously as a young guy I hadn't, not entirely anyway. But this particular person was fantastic at cultivating popularity for themselves. But actually in their chart, they had the moon opposite a whole cluster of energy in the sign of Leo, which is already obviously very, very magnetic. But T-squaring all those energies was the cold, restrictive, and sometimes rather dark energies of Saturn, but in the secretive sign of Scorpio. So in that person's directed chart, so that means we're taking it forwards on a solar arc, so it moves forwards for the time they've been on the planet, those patterns will still be manifested. They're not necessarily patterns that can be grown beyond, not without an awful lot of insight from childhood. And that's what you're saying narcissists often lack, is insight.
This is it. It does usually develop through childhood. It could be a big trauma or something that they perceive to be a trauma. It's a personality disorder. And unless the person admits to themselves that they have this disorder in the first place, there really is no helping these people. Although there is a guy on YouTube that does loads of videos about narcissists. He is one himself. He knows he's manipulative. He knows he's not a very nice person. He knows he's not going to change. The best he can do is to share his tactics, if you like, with other people to educate.
But the interesting thing about narcissism, I think, to go back to your word, Emma, is that I think a lot of people who make it in life are narcissists. You know, leaders of states are often people with a huge need for attention. Doesn't mean to say that they're sincere. Doesn't mean to say that they care that much. They care about power and they care about their public standing.
And they don't have problems stomping over other people to get there.
Yeah, so it's a brilliant word that you've come up with.
Yes,
but the other words that came up from Anima and also Eleanor, they're lovely words, and I think we are going to revisit them. We really love sacred.
Yeah.
We just thought that narcissism is so very current that we would go with that. Now, of course, we do have a birthday winner. Yeah. And a birthday winner is someone who has followed us for some while, but that's not why we chose Lisa. Lisa Marie, who was born in Oakland in California. I follow a soul artist called Raphael Sadiq, and I think he's from Oakland. So again, when I do this, to be honest, this is not a level of disrespect. We're always chasing the day at the moment, it seems, for various different demands. So I've done the birth chart wheel for Lisa. So her birthday is the 4th of May, 1963. So what we want to do, if you want to enter your birthday into the free weekly draw, it has to be, the birthday has to be for that week. And someone has put in last week for the 17th of May. And if no one enters into the prize draw for the 10th, then there's every chance you're going to win. So if we can do it on that week, it makes it much more topical. So Lisa was born on the 4th of May in Oakland. Elisa will have shared the wheel on screen, and we can see that in actual fact, although you have the sun in Taurus, it's actually in the 8th house, which means that you've probably gone through lots of transformations in your life. You also have Mercury there in its home zone of Gemini, so that means that your ability to think and probe and burrow down into situations is probably very, very great. You also have a terrific angle between the Sun and Pluto in the sign of Virgo. So I think that's adding to your analytical skills, but also suggests that you are someone who's constantly transforming. Now, your ascendant is in the charming Libra, but your moon is just tucked behind. So I would say when we're talking about the ascendant, your ability to tune into others is very acute, but you can see on the other side of the heavens that you have a conjunction between Jupiter and Venus in your 7th house, and Jupiter is right on your 7th house cusp, which is all about how we relate to others. Remember, I said the ascendant is our body, our individuality, the 10th house how we link with the world, the 4th house how we link with home, family, emotions and where we live, and the 7th house is our relationships. So I think relationships have probably been critically important to you, Lisa, in your life. But if we take the midpoint between your moon in Libra and the sun in Taurus, it's actually in the sign of Cancer and at 23 degrees in the 10th house. So I think your relationships in the professional context have been particularly important. But because your midpoint, the balance of your male and feminine instincts, there's nothing to do with gender or sexuality, is currently opposed pretty well by Pluto, has been opposed by Pluto and Saturn over the last year in a big way. I think something's been going on in your home and emotional life or your professional situation, but in some way or another, each has affected the other. So if you've moved, it's affected where you work. And if you work somewhere that you're happy at, there may be issues going on at home. Now, you didn't give me your current place, your current residency, so I couldn't actually do a solar return for you. So I've just done a little bit of a progress chart for you. Your progress sun is actually in the sign of Cancer, so it's caught up with your midpoint, but it's just moved over, literally just moved over your 10th house. So I think something big has changed around your work, around your role in life, perhaps around your parents. Something has changed really quite recently. The other thing I just wanted to say in terms of your progressions, I'll just look at that in isolation. So I've mentioned that the sun is in the sign of Cancer, but your moon at the moment today is in the 12th house of your progress chart. As it was when you were born, the moon started your life in the 12th house, but it's actually conjunct Neptune in the 12th house. So I think just at this moment, with your ascendant now in Scorpio, this has been a time when you are discovering some very deep things about yourself. And because Saturn, the moving Saturn in the sky, is squaring your progressed moon and your progressed Neptune, and also is opposite your natal sun. You have a T-square there. So I think there's some turbulence going on, if I'm really perfectly honest, or a feeling that things are changing, but it's not necessarily easy. But I do feel that you are, in your professional context, demonstrating a lot more authority somehow, but I do think there's been some challenges or some changes. So you may have moved jobs to escape some politics. You may be someone who wants to take on more responsibility in your life. Maybe you're taking responsibility for your parents if they're still alive at the moment in terms of their care. But you're a business person, or your business instincts, I do think would be emphasised at this time, or you will be talking about property matters. But it is a sensitive time right at the moment. Is that going to change? Well, it is going to change because the moon in the progressed chart moves 1 degree every month. Well, it's a bit more than that. As every lady knows, the moon moves 13 times a year, not 12. So it's every 4 weeks. So it's going to move forwards by the end of this year. Get away from Neptune. It's going to go into your first house in about 7 months' time. In 7 months' time, I think you're going to feel a lot brighter and lighter about life. But at the moment, there is quite a lot of introspection while you're trying to manage these big opportunities that are being presented to you. So I hope that helps you and makes some sense. Now, Alicia, are you going to choose a modality for this week to round off?
Yeah, so I thought it'd be really nice, especially after talking about that keyword narcissism. It was quite that's quite a difficult word, isn't it, for all of us to get our heads around. And so I thought we'd use the angel of communication to help us this week.
Oh, that's so lovely.
And that is Archangel Gabriel, the loudest angel in lots of Abrahamic text, from Islam to Judaism to Christianity. So,
and thank you for all your absolutely beautiful comments about our newfound home.
Oh yeah, we've shared the pictures with our Patreons.
Thank you so much to all our patrons for your
yeah.
contributions, your lovely, kind comments. We haven't shared the house more openly yet because it has to transact, and we don't actually want to tempt fate. We don't perceive anything at this stage being a problem, but I think the best thing for us to do is to get it, and then perhaps not share photographs from estate agents, but take some personal photographs. In a way, but we are so grateful for all the joy that you've shared on our behalf. It means a lot.
Yeah, it really does. So here are the Angel Gabriel cards. So give it a shot. I just love the energy of working with
Beautiful
Archangel.
graphically as well, aren't they?
Stunning, yeah. So the word on this card is sensitivity.
Sensitivity. There's an advert in Britain, I've got to say, it's for a toothpaste, and there's this dentist from Manchester, and he says, people say to me, I got a problem in my teeth. I'm suffering with sensitivity. So he said, well, you need to use this toothpaste, don't you? And then you won't have sensitivity.
So every time we
do a sensitivity, we think of the dentist from Manchester.
So here we go. Archangel Gabriel's given us some sensitivity. And it says, your sensitive feelings are your muse and inspiration for your creativity. Isn't that fantastic? I think sometimes we can be sort of berated for being sensitive. Like
I've been berated so many times by my family.
So, like, you're oversensitive, you take things too personally, blah, blah, blah.
It's very
blah, blah.
controlling. I find that it can trigger a response very quickly when people use that technique.
Oh, it's just awful. I've had it myself. And what this card is saying is no. It's the opposite. Sensitivity is where creation comes from. It's where inspiration comes from.
Also, we're very good at relating to other people.
Yeah. And if you think about all the fantastic works of art, all the sculptures, all the paintings from over just centuries and centuries, those people had the imagination. They were sensitive. They could go in deep into something and bring it to life. That is fantastic. That's why we have sensitivity. So the people in life who I think really do win are those empath people, are those sensitive.
But we also feel the pain.
Yeah.
So, if we don't feel pain, we didn't feel the joy in the first place. So it's a heightened harmonic, isn't it? We're reaching up to a higher frequency of being. Yeah. And that is really what we need in the earth. So we're not all focused on having everything perfect in our world. So we're actually focused on human emotions.
Yeah, and real and rawness and authenticity.
Oh, I must also say, and Nima Milson also was saying on last week's show, she didn't mind if people were a bit awkward or a bit blunt or whatever. And Nima made the brilliant point, it's whether they are real, and that's a fantastic point.
Yeah, because even if information is delivered to us in a difficult way, if we know that is from a real place of being real, of being truthful, of being loving, we can feel it. We know it's real, and therefore it's easier to digest that information.
Yeah, there's such a lot of fabrication, isn't there, in the world? People are sort of stuffing things into their bodies, doing this, that, and the other to make feel better. There isn't a lot of naturalness, or it's not in vogue at the moment. Put it that way.
Yeah.
And I do feel that there will be a counter revolution.
Oh yeah, there'll be a renaissance, like natural renaissance, where people just showing, who they are, and I think that's going to come, and I think that'll become the new trend.
Yeah, there could be a new website called Warts Are Us.
Okay, well that's maybe a bit too far. People might want to keep those.
Oh, Nimi.
Lowering the tone there, Patrick.
I didn't say what type of warts.
For goodness sake.
It could be facial warts. Let's make them cool.
Do you know what? Freckles have come massively into fashion now.
I've always liked freckles.
You're a man who loves freckles. I mean, when I used to get freckles as a kid, I used to be really self-conscious, want to cover them. Now people are buying things to put on their face to look like freckles.
My oldest standing friend, Jill, we met when we were 5 at junior school, and we're very, very close, speak every day virtually. Jill has a lot of freckles. and I really tease her about it.
I think they're really cute.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they've come into fashion again. So maybe you're not far off with the wart theme. Maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah, for further discussion and, contemplation.
You better buy that domain name
Yeah.
before it
Yeah,
goes.
indeed. Yes, right.
you.
Have a great week. So there is that challenge between the Sun and Saturn, which can be a bit like driving with the handbrake on. In terms of the overall chart, 211, the quarter moon as well, 211. I think we're going to become much more conscious of who we really believe in this week, with Venus forging that beautiful sextile to Neptune, but mostly that very in-depth angle to Pluto. It's really saying, even if some of the people we do really love, it is warts and all, it's because they're genuine. We can really relate to that. And if there are people where their values are divergent from us, we're going to want to sort of push on and really honour the energy of Saturn in Aquarius, because after all, it is the ruler of that sign. So from us both, from the 18, it is
Goodbye from him.
and it's goodbye from us.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.